Have you ever felt controlled by something you couldn't quite see, influenced by a force you couldn't really name? Well, today we're not just talking about a concept, we're going to reveal a blueprint. We're talking about the architecture of silence, a structure of control built in the quietest spaces of our lives.
True power doesn't need to shout. It doesn't need to make a scene. It works quietly, methodically, building a structure of control around you, often without you ever even realizing the walls are going up. So, what exactly is this architecture? It's not a single act, it's an environment, it's a climate of control built piece by piece. It's the systematic diminishment of another person, and it's designed to be so subtle that it's almost impossible to point to and say, that's it, that's the thing.
And that distinction is absolutely crucial. See, physical abuse, that can be a single, undeniable event. But this is different. It's a pattern. It's a slow, corrosive process that makes it so insidious. Each individual incident on its own might seem small, almost forgivable. But when you put them all together, they form the very foundation of a prison.
Every architect needs their tools, and the architect of silence is no different. They use specific, calculated tactics to build their invisible structure. So, let's take a look at the primary weapons in their arsenal.
Gaslighting. This is probably the most disorienting tool of all. It's that quiet insistence that your reality is just wrong. I never said that. You're misremembering. You're just being overly sensitive. You hear these phrases enough and they become this constant echo in your mind, forcing you to question not the manipulator, but yourself. It's a gradual demolition of your own certainty. And let's be crystal clear about this. This isn't just someone needing a little space. The silent treatment is an active, aggressive weapon. It is manipulative punishment, plain and simple. By refusing to speak, the manipulator is loudly communicating their displeasure. And that silence becomes a leash, one that keeps you anxious, guilty, and desperate for their approval. It's a power play. You can't do anything right. Your ideas don't matter. This is that steady, dripping erosion of your self-worth. It's not about constructive feedback, not at all. It's about making you feel so small that you start to believe you need the manipulator just to function. Every critical remark is just another brick in the wall that isolates you from your own sense of value.
So, why? Why would someone do this? What on earth drives a person to construct such an elaborate, silent prison for someone else? Well, to really understand the architecture, we have to try to understand the architect.
And here's the thing you have to get. This behavior, it almost never comes from a place of strength. It comes from profound weakness. It's a need to establish dominance that's fueled by a deep insecurity. It's a fear of open conflict. So instead, they fight with silence. They might have narcissistic traits, using control to prop up a fragile sense of superiority. But ultimately, it's just a broken way of coping with their own internal chaos. Now, this isn't just about hurt feelings. This kind of abuse leaves a real, tangible mark. On a neurological level, the damage is real, it's measurable, and it's profound. Just let that sink in for a second. Social rejection, the kind you get from that punishing silence, it literally lights up the same neural pathways in your brain as a physical injury. Your brain doesn't make a distinction. To your neurology, this kind of emotional abuse feels like being physically struck. So it's a question we really have to ask ourselves, right? If the pain is processed identically by our brains, then the line between emotional and physical harm starts to get pretty blurry, doesn't it? The wounds of silence are not imaginary. They are very, very real.
But here's the most important part of this whole thing. The moment you see the blueprint, the instant you understand the architecture for what it is, the spell begins to break. Awareness is the first tool of your liberation. So ask yourself these questions about your interactions. Is there a pattern of denial? Do they constantly refuse to acknowledge things you know they said or did? Do they shift the blame, always making you feel guilty? Are your needs always getting pushed aside for theirs? And maybe most importantly, what is that quiet voice inside you, your own intuition, telling you? That's the one voice you can't afford to ignore.
And now, we have to turn the lens inward. And this isn't about blame, okay? It's about empowerment. A high need to please people, a really hard time saying no, or a tendency to justify bad behavior, these things can make you more susceptible. Recognizing these vulnerabilities in yourself isn't a weakness. It is the first, most powerful step you can take toward building your defenses. Because once you can see the walls, you can start looking for the doors. Once you understand the tools being used against you, you can begin to disarm them. You see, the architecture of silence depends on its invisibility. The moment you see it for what it is, its power begins to crumble.